when I flip this 2-unit behind me, it's going to make $150,000. You know why? Because I bought it right. This is a part of our $1 million challenge. And the takeaway is that you make money when you buy, not when you sell. So I know what you're thinking. It's too good to be true. How can you make $150,000 on a flip? Is this even a reality, or is this just something made for the internet or made for TV? Guys, the address on this property is 1637 Elmwood in Berwyn. Write the address down. And the reason I'm giving it to you is because I want to show you this is reality. So I know you're thinking, is this even possible? Can I buy a property at a deep discount and make that kind of money? So where did I find it? This was found with a mailing to a distressed landlord. Person had owned the property for a long time, got older, couldn't manage it anymore, and guess what? We did a piece of mail for an absentee landlord. That's how I found it. So what did I buy it for? See, the average property, if you bought it on the MLS, something like this will sell for about $330,000 to $350,000 in the multiple listing service. Even if you got a discount, maybe $300,000. I bought this property for $200,000. Reason we give you the address, this can be done today, in today's market. Yes, that's in 2025. And you can look up on public records what I bought the property for, $200,000. Now, I'm gonna do a bunch of work. I'll give you the numbers as we get inside. And I know some of you might say, well, Andrew, you're a rich guy, right? You may have the money, but I don't have the money. Guys, listen, when I started the first property I bought it with a home equity line on my house for $25,000. I had another friend, I asked him for a loan of $25,000. See, whenever you get started, it's not the money, because the money is available for these deals through private money, through hard money, through all different sources. You can partner for it. The question is, do you know how? Number one, do you know that these properties exist? Number two, do you know where to find them? Number three, do you know how to be able to fund them? And the reason I'm sharing the addresses of these properties is because you can look up, who did I get the loan from? Where did the money come from? Was it my money? Was it somebody else's money? Guys, you make money on a property like this because you buy it right. See, what does the average person think? Oh my God, I made money because I sold it so high. No. You lock in your profits when you buy a property. So we're gonna go inside and I'm gonna show you exactly the step-by-step process, how I got it, how I funded it, and then exactly what we're gonna do in terms of rehab, because this is all about learning. Because the best part about real estate is it's the greatest equalizer. All you have to do is listen, learn, and let's do it together. So let's go inside. So guys, we're inside the 2-unit building. And this is a beautiful property. And I know you may look at it, you're like, Andrew, this is not beautiful. But you have to see as a flipper what's going to happen, not what's at present. So when I bought this property, right, as you can see, somebody took a little bit of a toll on it. It was occupied, it was a tired landlord, and the tenant had quit paying them rent. So they had a lot of stuff here, and it took me a couple of months. See, whenever we talk about making, obviously, an abnormally high profit, you have to put work into it. It's gonna take 6-7 months to get all the rehab done, to get the property back on the market, get it sold, and actually cash that check. So sometimes it may look easy. Oh my God, I bought the property, I made $150,000. It's not out of thin air, but yet it's an abnormally high profit that you can make by flipping if you buy the property right. So let's go through the property. I wanna point out certain things. So already we have the walls are in decent condition. We're gonna patch, paint, and finish them up. The windows, as we look at it, the windows are all savable. See, sometimes when people are doing flips, they think I have to do everything. You don't. You only have to do the things that are per code, meaning what is the code for that particular village, town, area? Are you doing electrical, plumbing? We always do all the safety items, which is electrical, plumbing per code, and that's it. In this case, are the windows brand new? No, but do they work? Are they in good operational condition? Yes, so we're gonna leave them. Hardwood floors, this is beautiful hardwood floors. This is 60, 80-year-old hardwood floors. All we're gonna do is have them stripped, right? And then we're gonna just have them varnished, recoated, sealed, and that's it, we're done. So that's all that needs to be really done in these rooms. Of course, we're gonna install a light fixture, because when you're flipping a property, it's important that the property has kind of lights even for evening and night showings. So as we come through here, this is important, really important. This furnace here in the property came with the property. We're gonna leave it as is. We're not gonna mess with it, right? There's do not touch things in a property that don't need to be changed. So something I want to point out here as I look at the property. Now, a lot of the demo in the property has already been done. They've taken that out. I'm not sure why they didn't take the toilet out. I think just so that the workers can have a functioning toilet, at least something to use. But something I want to point out here, this is a tub, which is a jacuzzi tub, right? It has those jets and all that. Guys, do not put these in whenever you're doing flips, especially in a bread and butter area. Berwyn is a very bread and butter area, so this needs to be taken out, because if you don't, now you're gonna have to have somebody come out after the property is all done, fix these jets, and they always have problems. Whenever you're flipping, you gotta understand what headaches you wanna take on. The bedroom here, we're gonna leave it pretty much as is, right? We're not gonna touch it, we're just gonna leave it. Now we come to the kitchen. If you notice, we saved the flooring here, and we're gonna put flooring right on top of it. A lot of times people are like, oh my God, I wanna do the property perfect. Guys, this is almost a 100-year-old house. And if you truly wanna learn the business of flipping, you can't go start touching everything. We're gonna put a floor right on top of it. It's gonna be a floating LVP floor, which is luxury vinyl plank. Why? Saves you time and effort, because if you take this floor out, guess what's gonna happen? Right? It's going to be uneven. It's going to be either some sort of a plywood or some such thing. And now you're going to have to scrape it, and it's going to be a pain. So instead of doing that, just leave the tile as it is. It's in good condition, and you can slap just a luxury vinyl plank right on top of it and move on with your life. Simple L-shaped kitchen goes here. Now, the second floor is going to be pretty much exactly the same. So the one thing we're going to pay attention to in this unit is we want to make sure electrical and plumbing is done per code. The Village is not the easiest place to work, but this is a great area for either a rental, for a house hack, for somebody to live in the property, as well as to be able to own it as a rental property. So I want to show you guys something in the basement, because the basement is important in this property. So in this property, what we're going to do is do duplex down. Generally, we don't like to finish basements, but in this property, we have a lot of people that happen to be Hispanic that live here. Hispanic people a lot of times will have a larger family or extended families, and they will pay more for a property where you have more rooms, where you have more space. See, that boils down to knowing who your end buyer is going to be. So most of the times, I do not like to finish basements. In this case, we're going to do what is called a duplex down. We do not put illegal units downstairs, because that is not going to be allowed, but we can certainly do a duplex down. So what does that mean? What that means is that you don't put a kitchen there, and you don't make it a separate living space. It's a living space, so whoever occupies this space, which is the main level, as well as the basement, is going to come together. That's called a duplex down. Or if it's upstairs, meaning you're going into the attic, it's called a duplex up. So now, whenever the property is completely finished, the way we make a lot of money in this property, what we're doing is we're increasing the value by forcing up the equity in the property by doing a little bit of extra. So having said that, let's go down the basement. So have you ever heard the term mold is gold? And I want to show you guys this basement, because if you notice in the basement, there is quite a bit of mold. This is not a lot by our standards, but for a lot of people, this is something scary. When they think about real estate, they're like, oh my God, I would never buy a property like this. And they think what flippers do is you hide this. Guys, you do not hide these kind of problems. You address the problem. So why do mold problems happen? Mold problems happen whenever you have 60% moisture content and cellulose material. Meaning, think about this. If you had a tub of water and you have a cinder block sitting in it, will it grow mold? No. Why? Because that is not cellulose material. Anytime you have 60% moisture and no air movement, no sunlight, over time, that's where mold is going to grow. So why do we have a mold problem? We have a mold problem because there's a moisture and a water problem. Clearly, in these properties, they were generally not meant to be finished in the basement. None of the properties in Chicago had finished basements. A little bit water would kind of come in during heavy rains, and that was considered normal when these properties were built in 1930s and the early 1900s. Today, when we finish the basements and we don't address the water problem. So the first thing we're going to do is have all the drywall demoed. Now, this should have been done when the demo was done upstairs. So this is something for me to talk to my construction manager. Hey, why didn't we demo the whole damn thing in one shot? So that we can find out when it rains outside, where's the rain coming from? So what we're going to end up doing in this property is have the entire thing demoed, completely cleaned, then sanitized with what is called a mold stat so that mold does not grow in the future. And then before we rebuild the entire basement, we're gonna have to make sure that we've waterproofed the entire basement. So how do we do that? Well, in this particular case, we're gonna install a sump pump, and then we're gonna install drain tiles throughout the entire basement. The cost for that is going to be somewhere around $8,000 to $10,000, depending on the size of the basement. But that is a must. If you're going to have a finished basement, that is something important. Here, that's an important place where you're going to spend a little bit extra money, because to flip the property, we can't just hide the problem. We have to address the problem so that after we close and sell the property, it does not come back to bite us. So rest of the basement, we're just going to go ahead and finish it. That we had an existing kitchen down here, which we ripped out because that is not allowed. You cannot put a second kitchen here because then it's considered a third unit, and per code in Berwyn, that is not allowed. So a couple key upgrades that we're going to do in the basement. We're going to make sure it has a beautiful bathroom down here because that will increase our value, and we're going to have at least one, if not two bedrooms. But before you start adding bathrooms or bedrooms in the basement, two things to remember. For a bedroom, you need what is called an egress window, meaning the window has to have an opening where a person can go through it in case of fire, so they are not entrapped and do not inhale smoke. So it's called a European style window. The cost of that is about $100, $150 more than your normal window. So this particular room makes for a great place where we can take out this window, which is not per code, and install a European style window. If the basement is below grade, much farther below grade than this, then we're going to have to put a window well. Not needed in this particular basement, so it's not an issue. It's an easy replacement. The only other thing we're going to remember, that when we put a bathroom, we're going to make sure that the line that is coming in to the property is sufficient, meaning the gauge of the line is big enough so you can add an additional bathroom. So don't go in and adding additional bathrooms without making sure the gauge of the line. And the last thing to remember, whenever you finish a basement, never, never, never put anything that will not survive getting wet. Meaning you're gonna put some sort of a luxury vinyl plank, or ideally if you can just paint it, get away with it. Here, I don't think we're gonna get away with it by just putting paint on the floors. We need to have that finished look. So we're gonna go ahead and put a vinyl product which is resistant to getting wet. Meaning even if it gets wet, it's basically pretty much plastic and it does not harm it. So those are things to remember. Having said all of that, let's go upstairs and we're going to show you the numbers. So when we're flipping a property, there are four things we look at. Number one is the price that you buy the property for, which is called your acquisition price or buy price. Number two, the amount of rehab that it's going to take to be able to rehab the property and bring it back to market. So if I'm doing a rehab for $30,000, that's one thing. If I'm going to do a $60,000, $70,000 rehab, or I'm going to have to pull all drawings, all permits, that's a whole different thing. Number three is going to be the time it's going to take. So see, it's not just about the purchase price and the amount of rehab. It's like, hey, how long is it going to take? Project like this is going to take a good 7 to 8 months because I have a lot of projects going on at any given time. That makes a big difference. If I flip a house in 6 months, whereas it takes me 12 months, that's got to have an effect in terms of how much money I should be making or I want to make. And the number four is, of course, the profit. So when we talk about the profit, here's the formula. It's ARV times 0.2 or 20% of the ARV. So to make that math simple, if I'm selling a property for $400,000, 20% of that would be $80,000. I want to make $80,000 in 6 months. So Andrew, what if you hold the property for a year? Well, I need to make $160,000. How realistic is that? It's not. So anytime a property goes over the 6-month threshold, what happens is, even though you may make $90,000, $100,000, your actually net bottom line cash on cash return diminishes. You're kind of over that proverbial bell curve, right? And this is really important. Timing is everything, because this is about speed, this is about efficiency. There's another rule we follow. So the first rule is ARV times 20%. Now, somebody may say, well, but I'm happy with 15%. That's okay, nothing wrong with it, but that's your formula, not mine. So 20% of ARV and or the rehab amount, whichever one is higher. So imagine I'm selling a property for $400,000, 20% would be $80,000. I'm happy with that profit in 6 months. But what if the rehab on it is $100,000? What if the rehab is $120,000? Well, then I need to make $100,000 or $120,000 if the rehab is above my 20% return. So I always, whenever I'm flipping a property, I want to make huge, big returns. Otherwise, why am I doing a flip? See, this is something a lot of times people are never taught and they never understand. So what were the numbers on this? Well, we said when we started, this property was purchased as off-market absentee landlord that had a tenant that would not move out. That's how I bought the property, off-market, purchase price of $200,000. The second thing we have to consider, well, where did the money come from to rehab the property, to buy the property? So I bought this property with a loan from a private money lender. I borrowed $200,000 plus I borrowed another $70,000 for the rehab. I think it's going to cost me about $65,000 to $70,000 to rehab this particular property. So I have a loan on this property for $270,000. So what's my carrying cost a month? It's about $3,000 a month. So $3,000 times about 8 months worth of carrying cost is what it's going to cost me to be able to carry this property. Carry meaning to be able to service the debt on the property. So that's about $21,000 to $22,000. So $200,000 purchase plus about $70,000 rehab, another $21,000 in terms of carrying cost on the property. Then you have to pay taxes, you have to pay utilities, and then when I flip the property. So where do our numbers look? $200,000 for purchase, $70,000 for rehab, that's $270,000. Add another $21,000 to it, that's $291,000. On top of that, another $5,000 to $6,000. Let's just make it $9,000 just to be conservative. So now I'm at about $300,000 before I've calculated my selling costs. Selling costs on this property is going to be minimum. That includes attorney, title fees, agent's commission, about $20,000. So my all-in cost in this property is going to be about $320,000. See, the back-end value on this property, based on all the other sales that have happened for an equivalent property in this location, is somewhere around $470,000, giving me a profit of somewhere around $140,000 to $160,000. You make money in real estate when you buy, not when you sell. See, when you sell, you just collect your profits. But the reason why this is a great deal, because I bought the property right, I bought it off market, and my numbers work. See, an amateur gets into a deal and then tries to figure out, oh my God, how do I get out? A professional knows, has an exit strategy of getting out before they get in. You want to learn, you want to grow, you want to be a part of our flipping team, go to andrewholmesrealestate.com. I'll see you there.